many playoff contenders do you think exist in this sport? If you had to put your life on the line, most dangerous game style, if your life is on the line and you're trying to whittle down the amount of teams that are capable of making the playoff, not winning a title, making the playoff, how big is your list? I think mine may be like a dozen to 15 teams deep right now. Remember, our life is on the line making this list. So if anything, we have to be lenient with the teams that we have on there. I think we're looking around the country right now. I think first off, you're kind of waiting on Michigan. When you're talking about the national championship picture, everyone's talking right now about how it's wide open, a lot of parity, which is true and true. But you got Michigan out there that's ranked way high in every poll, and they're still rolling over teams. So the theory is, as long as you have at least one elite team in the room, it doesn't matter how much competitive balance you have beneath them. Like it didn't matter that TCU won a bunch of close games last year. When they went up against Georgia, that was firing a BB gun at a freight train. 10 times out of 10, 100 times out of 100, it's going to result the same way. Well, with Michigan, if they really are the team they look to have been so far this year, it won't matter what anyone else does. However, there is a world where Michigan is not quite as dominant as they look. They just haven't been tested. That's a possibility. So if we find that out, then it's really game on. Because Bama's already lost. Clemson's lost a couple of times. LSU's lost a couple of times. Notre Dame's lost and barely got by Duke last night. They've shown vulnerability. FSU barely beat Boston College. Ohio State's bled a couple of times this year already, albeit in wins. So they're still undefeated. USC doesn't have championship caliber defense right now. Texas was right there with Wyoming in the fourth quarter of a game, and no one remembers that anymore, and I'm high on Texas. Washington beat Arizona's backup quarterback by 7 last night. So what I'm trying to tell you is everyone's got warts right now. Oregon hasn't shown any, but most of you don't think Oregon can win a title. I do. You don't. So that's okay. We'll just shove them off to the side for a second. And Michigan hasn't shown an ounce of vulnerability yet. And a lot of you do think they can win a title, which I do as well. I think it would be smart at this point to just throw out the normal logic. Because the normal logic is you've got to be these things. They're these little compartments that history has taught us. You've got to be elite here. You got to be this in quarterback rating. You got to be top 5 in that category or this category. Because all past playoff teams, all past national champions have had these things in common. Throw that stuff out this year. Throw it out. This is an atypical year. It's an anomaly year. I don't know what it is about the last year of the 14 playoff. I'm telling you my strategy right now. I'm throwing that stuff out. So I don't care what the key indicators in the past have been. Those are guidelines. They're not rules right now, like that dude in Pirates of the Caribbean said. And what I mean is, if you told me, whittle down the list of potential playoff teams, Miami's on the list. Like North Carolina's on the list. Oregon and Oregon State are both on that list. Penn State's way up there on that list. Notre Dame's still on that list. There are teams that you wouldn't normally mention in this conversation, even if they're undefeated, that have to be mentioned in this conversation right now. We may not have an elite team out there, guys. We may not have one. And if we don't, that's a recipe for chaos. And before you start to disagree with me, feel free to do it. But just remind yourself, September fools a lot of folks. And October and November can make fools out of a lot of folks who got convinced of things in September. I'm not saying Michigan's vulnerable. They may go on to be 15-0 national champs. I'm just telling you there's no way to know that right now. That's all I'm telling you. And I'm also telling you to remember, this says October 1st, not November 1st. You got a long way to go. You got a bunch of injuries, unfortunately, it's a reality, that are going to happen. All of them are going to be unexpected. You're going to have weird turnover games. You're going to have weird bounces of the ball. You're going to have college football happen. In other words, folks are still going to lose. There are a lot of losses coming. A lot of losses coming. Maybe folks you don't expect to lose games. I think that October, starting this Saturday, is going to be equal to any October we've ever seen in the sport. That's what I think. Because even the ones you think you know, you may not really know.